The number one thing that we ought to do as the people of God serving Him is to look around us and become soul winners. Reaching the lost should be our goal. This week, I want to share with you an experience that I feel like God created that enabled me to reach out to a man and witness to him. It was a Wednesday evening, and it was almost church time. On Wednesday night was our Bible study night, and I always looked forward to that. But just before time to start the service, I received an emergency phone call from a man in our church, and I already knew that his wife was in very serious condition. And he told me, he said, "Brother Young, I need you to come right now." He said, "I hate to call you this close to church time, but my wife needs prayer. Could you possibly come to my house right now?" I said, "I will do that." And I immediately rushed out to my car and drove to his house. It was several miles away. And I rushed up to the door. I didn't even knock or ring the doorbell. I walked right in, and the man was weeping, and his wife appeared to be at the verge of dying. And so I immediately began to pray, and the man prayed with me. And I believe we really touched God. I don't know how long we prayed, but it was quite a little bit. And then I realized I've got to get back to church. I had left things in charge with the gentleman, and I told him I didn't know how long it would take, but I would be back for the service. And when I got in my car to return to the church, I noticed that my gas gauge showed empty. That represented a serious problem. So when I got started and was driving down the road, I was looking for a service station and found one. I pulled over, drove beside the pump, and began to put gas in my car. While I was doing that, just on the other side of that pump, another man drove up in his car and started putting gas in his vehicle. While both of us were gassing our cars, he walked around to where I was, and he asked me this question. He said, "What is a young man like you doing on a Wednesday night and all dressed up? Where are you going?" And I said to him, "Sir, I am a pastor, and I am going to church." And that man stood there for a moment, and then he said, "You know what, Pastor?" He said, "If I could find a church like I read about in the book of Acts, I would go to that church and become a part of it." But he said, "I've been to churches in various cities. I've been in churches many places." And he said, "I haven't yet found a book of Acts church." I was so shocked by his words, and for a moment I waited, and then I said, "Sir, I believe you're sincere. And if you are sincere like I believe, why don't you follow me when we get the gas in our cars, and I will lead you to a church that is a book of Acts church." And that man said, "I'll do it." And when we left, he followed me to church and came in and sat throughout the service. And before I could get to him at the end of the service, he walked out the door and left. I never saw the man again, but that man, for that one time at least, saw an apostolic church. I believe that there are people all around us that are hungry for God. And if we will put things in God's hand, God will give us an opportunity to witness to people. That night, that man saw people worshiping God like they did in the book of Acts, and singing and rejoicing in the presence of God. And he heard a gospel message straight out of the Word of God. And that was the thing that he needed to hear. And I have prayed since then that God would lead him again to church and find salvation for his soul. Why don't you look around you and let God lead you to that hungry soul? God bless you.